Statement of Jacob Wells regarding his accident and following hospitalization near the Tombigbee River. Original statement given July 10th, 2015. Audio recording by John Stevens, archive technician for the Usher Foundation, Washington, D.C. Statement begins. I love being out on the water. Well, loved. I damn near learned how to swim before I learned how to walk. I guess that's just the way I was raised, though. My mama had a single wide out in the sticks, not too awful far from Aliceville. She worked as a nurse, so I didn't really get to see her that much because she took just about every covering shift she could to make ends meet. I didn't grow up with a whole lot, but we always had food on the table, and I always had clothes for school. So it was usually just me and my Uncle Ricky. Uncle Ricky was my mom's brother. I loved getting to hang out with him. He had this awesome bass tracker boat and lived damn near on the water. He didn't have to work because of his disability check. I think he got hurt working for the county road crew back in the 80s or something, so he pretty much got to do whatever he wanted to do every day. Said he was out on his fishing boat every day, and that's just the way he wanted to keep it. I don't know how he managed to keep his boat so good looking and pay for a new truck every year, but I mean, I was a kid, so what was I supposed to think anyway? So every day he'd pick me up from school with his boat already loaded up on the trailer. I mean, it was super exciting back then. All the other kids would be getting picked up and banged up work trucks and minivans, and here I was getting to hop into whatever the current year's Super Duty was. Boat already loaded up, shining candy apple red. We'd head right to the waterfront and spend the entire afternoon fishing. He taught me a lot about how the river works. Boat traffic, working on your boat, best fishing spots, where to cast your net, and where to set up the trot line. Man, those were the best days of my life. I guess it only made sense when I was finally able to drop out of school. I'd end up on the water somehow. My mom was way less impressed, but by then she was just so run ragged from having to provide for both of us that when I told her I was getting on with a riverboat company and getting out the house, she knew I'd be in a better place where I could thrive. My uncle was excited beyond belief. Kept telling me about how I'd go so many places and see so many things I never got to see before. He told me if I get my shit together, I'd probably make pilot within 2 or 3 years, since I could already navigate the river blindfolded, basically. Something I vaguely remember doing one night when I had a few too many beers and too less of any sense between the two of us, that was. I had already passed the interview with mount weight towing, and since it was just a deckhand position, it's not like I really had to have a real resume. I proved I could do a little stick welding here, and I didn't mind painting over there, and I could swim better than most fish that were already in the river. They said they'd give me an honest shot, and I figured I might as well sign on the dotted line, so I did. I was supposed to show up at the company's port and loading station down in Mobile about like a week after the 4th of July. Man, I was so excited about all of it. I think I really would have had a chance to make a name for myself, but I guess fate has its own plans. See, it was the day after the 4th. His friends, Uncle Ricky and me had spent the whole previous 4th of July literally too drunk to function, and barbecue and beer, like 24 hours of it. Right there on a sandbar we found, set up, real nice. Ended up passing out face down in some sandy pines all by the end of it. Can't really remember if that was before or after the redneck fireworks show we put on. I mean, you talk about brass shells everywhere. To the point where the game wardens actually showed up and were pretty pissed. So to appease them, my uncle chained up and master-locked the boat to an old oak tree that was hanging over the water's edge. Said on his honor, he'd only unlock it after sunrise, and we were all sober enough to clean up our mess and skedaddle. That's his words, not mine. So the next day, Uncle and I sobered up, and he said he wanted to show me this new spot that he had been noodling in. Now, I'm not opposed to noodling. I just never quite caught on to it the way my uncle and some of my buddies did. I mean, yeah, I get it. It's cool to just reach down to some old murky dank hole in the water and snatch out a monster catfish, but when I tried it, I always ended up with a chewed up hand or pinky finger being bitten off by an alligator snapping turtle. But I mean, I guess that's half the fun of it, according to Unc anyway. But he was damn good at it. I mean, no matter how deep or dark the hole, he always managed to pull something out, like real monsters. Now bear in mind that there's some catfish in the Tom Bigby that can be so big they can swallow a duck in one gulp. I mean, I've seen it. Like the whole bird just gone, right under the water. And I mean, rumor has it that there's been some out there that hang out permanently near all the locks and dams, and where all the water just constantly flows. They just kind of hang out and let the food come to them. Those things get so big that I heard tall tales of people and like stray dogs and stuff getting just ate, like swallowed by them right under the water. But I mean, that doesn't even come to think of it. Not to mention alligator gar. I mean, you ever seen gar before? I don't know if they have those around here. They can get as big as coonhounds, some of them. And then them kind of fish, they got teeth, like real teeth for biting and not letting go. So yeah, you never will know what you're gonna be reaching into and getting out of some hellhole under a log in the river. But Unc takes me out to this spot of his. It wasn't too far off, but it was pretty swampy to be sure, and not like snaky trees hanging low, in some kind of washout. I mean, it was rough looking for a while there. Now, we had pulled off the main river after dodging some river boats, and we crossed over a couple shallow backwaters until we come into an inlet, and I admit I was pretty nervous because all the gators, there's a lot of them out trolling in the water, but the old two-stroke engine kept them pretty far away. Unc pulled us into a shallow spot and climbed right on out. He told me to grab the steering wheel. He said he'd go and find these series of holes that he had seen during a little bit of a drought a couple of months ago. He said he knew that something would be living in them once the water level came up. And once he was satisfied he had found out where his little treasure trove was, I paddled the boat over to him and we lashed it to an old sycamore there on the waterfront. Now, I told you it was swampy feeling where we was, and it was. I mean, there was this sort of darkness to it. Now, it was July, alright, and it was like 10 in the morning at this point, so by all accounts, we should have been sweating through our shorts and broiling alive under a cloudless sun. But in here, in this place, it was just different. Like, the humidity was god-awful. I can still feel it on my skin. There was this sickly smell, and I'm not talking about like the smell of decay from like rotten wood or like a brim bed, something like that. It was, I don't know, it was like the water and the mud, everything around us was sick. Just kind of, I don't know, not right under the surface. The trees hanging over us were god-awful thick, like branches on branches crisscrossing this way and that. And it's like the trees themselves are trying to hide something from God, or at least that's kind of what I thought in the moment. I appreciated the shade though. It just got me feeling real paranoid. I mean, just kind of felt like some crazy psycho killer had led us through the back door and right into the basement, and we didn't even mind. And it's a weird analogy, it just kind of feels right to say. But anyway, Unc grasped and climbed his way up some tree knots and perched himself there and told me to go ahead and bail out. I said it was finally time for me to catch a monster cat of my own, and it was just a shoe-in whenever we was in this place. He said he'd got him one already a couple weeks ago, and it was my turn. I guess this was his version of a going away present. Well, I did what he said and I climbed out, and man, the water was so low here. And that really wasn't the weirdest thing. See, usually in shallow spots like this on a major river, or I guess in this case a backwater, the water can get real hot. I'm talking about almost boiling hot if you're catching it right where the sun's hitting it. And this water was ice cold. I'm telling you, it was cold. I nearly jumped right back into the boat as soon as I got in. No hands needed. But I pressed on. I guess I convinced myself that with shade this thick and maybe the sun's warmth just kind of didn't reach. I just kind of felt like there were plenty of ways common sense was trying to tell me to get the hell out of there. Hindsight and all. I think I was about waist height in the water, maybe a little bit higher. I leaned over and, of course, ended up getting my chest completely chilling wet. I found one pretty quick, a hole that is, and I got my feet steady on either side of it. I dug my feet into this nasty, slimy, cold mud, and the mud squeezed itself through my toes, and I could swear I felt the stuff was moving. Like all of the ground around me was just kind of moving around. The thought of it just makes me kind of sick to think of it now. I reached down farther and farther, and I knew sometimes you'd actually end up having to take a breath and get under the water's, surface to really get down in there. Because down at the very bottom is where the cats like to hide and wait for their next meal. I went deeper and deeper, but nothing. I came up for air and I yelled to Dunk that it was empty and I'd have to just kind of move on to the next one. He went on about something, making sure I wasn't faking it, really getting in there or whatever, I don't know. Nothing I didn't already know or hear before. But that's when I felt something else. I felt something moving around my thighs. Now, bear in mind, I was wearing athletic shorts, and that's really about it. I was wearing a tank top or something or other earlier, but it got sweated through, so I tossed it on the front deck of the boat, just kind of let it dry out. So when I say I felt naked in that water, I really felt that way. And this thing, whatever it was just about coiled up right there on my right thigh. Too high up, just kind of ignore and wait, My first thought was actually, this is a damn water moccasin. Now, I don't know if you know what that is, but it's a snake. A water moccasin is a snake that just loves the water, They're damn vipers that swim. And that means venomous, and if you get bit by one, you gotta haul ass to the hospital real quick. Anti-venom and stuff. I figured in the moment that maybe this thing just got attracted to my body heat since, a damn ice cube would be warmer in this puddle of water we were in. Still, I hoped it would just kind of swim up and swim off, if I just kind of held still for a minute and it figured out what I was. I called out to as calmly as I could. I told him what was going on. He told me just to be still. That the thing would check me out because it was curious and then just kind of go on its way. Otherwise, I could try moving real slow, ease my way back to the boat. Now, water moccasins, they scare pretty easy and they'll swim off real quick. But if you get close to their nest, I guess they could probably be pretty aggressive too. And at the moment, I guess I kind of thought that's what that nasty smell was the the water moccasins, because they're known to do that, to put off this kind of smell. And then once you smell it, it smells like fish spawning, There's a real nasty, musty smell. So I had enough at this point. I decided this shit just wasn't for me, and I had managed to just sort of slowly tiptoe through the water back to the side of the boat, and I was just going to muscle my way back in. And that's when I felt this white hot searing pain right there in my thigh. I mean, it was like somebody took a steak knife and just stabbed it right through. I yelled, hollered, top of my lungs, and just launched myself into the boat. And at this point, Unc was just scared himself, I suppose, kicking and slapping the water, and rushed through as quick as he could, wading to the side of the boat. Up and over inside he went. I was in a mess at this point, scared out of my mind. I yanked up my shorts, and I'd figured I'd either see bite marks and blood, or the damn snake would still be attached to me the way I came out of there. But, that was just the thing. There wasn't nothing there. It kind of looked like there was a little bloody red spot, right there on my upper inside of my thigh. I turned to Unc and I said, the moccasin must have got ahead and tagged me. By this point, Unc had already got the motor running and everything. We had the boat turned around and running wide open. I don't even think the bottom of the boat even touched the water the whole time. I think the only part of the boat that actually was in the water was the propeller, and we basically flew all the way to a boat launch. That's where Unc had called an ambulance to. I was scared out of my mind. I really didn't want to see my legs swell up like a water balloon. The craziest thing was that when we got to the boat launch and the EMTs pulled me into the ambulance on their stretcher, there just wasn't anything there on my leg. There was still a little bit of dried blood, but there wasn't any visible bites. No scratches or cuts or nothing. The guys in the ambulance said that it was better to be safe than sorry, and we headed on to the ER to get some antivenom regardless. Just because we couldn't see fang marks, didn't mean that I didn't get bit by something. So by then, pain had kind of stopped, to be honest with you, and there wasn't any swelling or nothing. I kind of just felt like telling them to pull over and let me get out. But I just sort of laid there on the stretcher in the back of this ambulance, and on to the ER we went. I did notice something though while I was just kind of laying there. It was real subtle, and I only really noticed when the EMT got to rubbing down my thigh where I guess I got bit. He was spraying it down with water and wiping me off with paper towels to try to get some of the dried mud and, leaf and all that other junk off of me that kind of just gets on you when you're in the river. It's just I could feel something like movement right there under my skin. And this wasn't a pleasant feeling or nothing. This wasn't good at all. It made me break out into a sweat. I guess I thought initially that it might have been like muscles twitching or something, I don't know. All I did know is that it felt like something was wriggling all inside my thigh. I told the EMT, I swear I did, but he said he didn't see anything. He even felt around with it, gloved hand and all. And he said if it was any kind of twitching, it was probably just involuntary muscle spasms due to physical trauma or something. But he was the one in uniform, and I just kind of believed him. Probably should have said more, or, I don't know, raised hell about it. Maybe then I'd still be able to walk right. Needless to say, after the trip to the ER, where my mother was waiting mid-shift, dose of antivenom and x-rays, not to mention about an hour and a half of observation, the doc up there in the ER said I could just go home. He said if I did get bit by a moccasin, it might have just not been a good enough bite for the guy to get his fangs in me and release any venom. Or it might have just been a juvenile and couldn't even bite me to begin with. It certainly didn't feel that way to me. But he made sure to tell me I could come right on back as soon as I needed to if I felt off, felt sick, nauseous, anything like that, if there was any kind of swelling in my leg. But I just could still feel that wriggling feeling right there on my thigh. Underneath the hospital gown and the blanket they put on me, and it was really moving now. It felt like something thick and with a lot of strength behind it, trying to push itself through mud. I mean, that mud being my leg, almost up to my groin at this point, and I did mention it to the doc. I did, I swear. He just sort of looked at it and agreed with what the EMT guy said, that it was just muscle spasms. So I just kept going along with it. That night was horrid. After my mom gave my Uncle Ricky the cussing out of a lifetime, she came to my room and made sure I was comfortable. She really didn't want me moving around too much or doing anything physical, just in case, you know, I don't know, like a delayed reaction with this whole venom thing. She was really wrapped around it. So, I don't know. I did what I was told. I laid there and told her I'd stay. I mean, she's a nurse, and I wouldn't exactly raise the back talk my mama none, especially whenever she was on a warpath like this. I know she wished she could stay right there with me the whole night through, but she was already dressed and ready to go to her graveyard shift at the nursing home. She did say Uncle Ricky was coming back to stay with me overnight, since she said he could start getting back into her good graces by picking me up some food and at the very least making sure I didn't die in my sleep. But anyway, she said goodbye and I left, and there I was in a trailer by myself, laid up in bed, trying to find something to watch on TV. And that's when I felt it again. And it was worse this time. And it came on so quick and so strong that it startled me. My stomach dropped, and that wriggling and writhing feeling, I felt it. And it was moving. It moved from my inner thigh, thrashing and pulling itself, well, you know, to down there, where the boys hang out. And it was just like scraping and flapping. It started to, it's just embarrassing to say all of this, and I don't want to sound like some dumbass redneck, but it felt like it was pushing itself up and into my Johnson, and I jumped out of bed, like leapt straight up into the air and ran to the bathroom where I could actually see with some bright lights. I tore my clothes off so quick, and that's when I saw it, the movement. It was wriggling and writhing inside me, and I had heard Unc talk about passing a kidney stone and how it felt like stinging fire when you try to take a piss, and I guess this was as close as I could explain to the feeling. It burned. God, it felt like a knife sliding right through my crotch, right through me. I didn't know what the hell to do. I didn't want to touch it. I really didn't want to. And I don't know, I was afraid I'd make it mad or scare whatever this thing was. And at this point I was on my knees. I was just screaming. I had gripped the countertop in the bathroom so tight my entire hands turned white. I could feel cheap-ass wood on the counter creaking and popping. I just was staring at it with tears all in my eyes. At this point, there was blood. Blood was trickling like a stream out the end of it, And then it stopped moving. The pain was still there. God, I can still feel it sometimes. The swollen, throbbing pain in my shaft, for lack of any better word. That's when I had the stupidest idea. But shit, you have to believe me that it was all I could think to do at the moment. I thought, maybe if I just gripped it at the base to cut off any kind of retreat it could make, it would have to go forward, right? Like maybe if I made it jump, it would push itself out, get motivated or something. So that's what I did. I gripped it real tight and real fast. I didn't want it to go back in and feel more of it tossing and turning inside of me. It sounds so damn stupid and embarrassing, but I kind of tried to, I don't know, milk it out, I guess. But I shouldn't have. God, I should have called the ambulance. I should have called anyone, shit. Anybody to come help me to see what was going on. God, it thrashed and kicked like it was so pissed off, and then it was like this burning, this stabbing sharp horrid pain all through me and my hand. It was like a bunch of needles. I looked down and through tears and clenched shut eyes, I took my hand away from, and it was blood. There was blood on my palm from where it looked like I had been stabbed, and I was bleeding. My hand was bleeding, down there was I'm sorry. Fucking needles, or spines, barbs, like a fucking catfish, I don't know. They were pushed through my shaft. It was terrifying, and I screamed louder and louder. It's all I could fucking do. I fell out sideways on the floor. I passed the fuck out. I mean, I have to have had, but it couldn't have been for too long because the pain was so fucking bad it woke me up. It wouldn't even let me have just a second of pure black oblivion. I opened my eyes and looked back down. That's when I fucking saw it. It was trying to get out. It was struggling, thrashing, gnawing its way out. There on the end, I saw its mouth. It was round, circular, I guess. Teeth is all I can really remember, just long teeth, open and close, like watching a fish out of water just struggling to breathe. God, I just wanted to grab it, and I don't know, pull it out, but I had nothing left in me. My entire world was fire, burning, stabbing, stinging fire. I couldn't move my body, my arms, everything was screams, and it moved like an earthworm, swell and reach inside of me. It writhed itself, and finally it came out. It fell to the floor with a squelch and a wet thump. Its mouth thing just open and close. Its worm-like face was just needles. Body like a snake, fish, hybrid, spines pulsing in and out of it. I tried to move, and I couldn't. And then it tried to move, but it ended up just laying there. I don't think it even had the strength left in it. All it did was just look at me. Or, God, it felt like it was looking at me. And it's all I could do to just look back, because I didn't have the strength to look at myself down there. I was too scared. I passed out again. When I came to, I was back in the ER. My mom was there, and Uncle Ricky too. They said, or the nurses said, I must have passed a kidney stone, just kind of judging from the state of affairs. and my Uncle Ricky said it must have been a real bad one, judging from the state of the bathroom. I told them all about what had actually happened. I tried to make them believe me, but I knew from the look on their faces they thought I was fucking crazy. Unc said he was the one who found me whenever he got back to our house, and he didn't see any demon fish. At least not in the bathroom floor. Things didn't improve from there. It wasn't long after I got discharged that I had to have a pretty big chunk of my right thigh removed due to what the surgeon in Birmingham called gangrenous muscle tissue. Not to mention the surgeries I had to have down there. They ended up taking the boys. Same sort of story. Surgeons said they looked chewed up. I mean, my dick doesn't even work anymore. But I don't want to talk about that. My therapist has a hard enough time talking with me about that. But this is just kind of my life now. After being attacked by some swamp monster worm thing, and I hardly walk, and I can never have a family. I don't know if it was the mental trauma of it all, but I swear sometimes I still feel like a wriggling feeling inside. Sometimes it's in my other leg. Sometimes it's in my stomach. Sometimes it's like an itch in the back of my head. Statement ends. As a guy myself, I found this statement to be an absolute horror to record, and I think someone in the archive operations office owes me an apology. From doing a little bit of research, I have found that the Vandelinae hematophagous catfish, otherwise called the candiru, is a subfamily of freshwater pencil parasitic catfish found in the Amazon basin. While scientifically it primarily parasitizes fish, it has a notorious reputation supported by some rather dubious reports for allegedly entering the human urethra, using backward-facing gill-like spines to wedge itself in and cause inflammation. It can engorge itself with the host's blood in under 2 minutes. It will then leave the host body by any available means. No evidence indicates such attacks are anything more than rare and accidental aberrations of the usual feeding behavior of this parasite, and any such case, its entry into the human body would prove to be disastrous for both parties involved. I shouldn't have to say that Alabama is a very long ways away from the Amazon basin. Mr. Wells was unavailable for comment and further questioning due to his passing a couple of months after giving his statement. We looked into his death after pressing the matter with administration and found that the autopsy report noted the cause of death as sepsis. It also noted the removal of large amounts of foreign organic material. His family declined to speak with us. I don't think I'll be going swimming in anything less than a very, very well chlorinated pool this summer. In recording.